The Mets have expressed concern about Carlos Correa's physical. Not again. Please. Not again. Is this offseason going to be remembered as the offseason of the physical? This story just won't go away. Giants fans, maybe you're feeling a little bit vindicated. I'm sure the front office for the Giants feeling a little vindicated, but we're going to dive into this. We're going to take a look at Ken Rosenthal's report. We are live for this one, so those of you that are with me live, we are popping up live on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrate here, as we are going to talk Carlos Correa for a few minutes and the situation, because is it time to worry? Is this not a big deal? I want you all to comment below and let me know your thoughts, but there is something brewing here. But again, comment below. Let me know what you think about this situation. Carlos Correa, for the second time now, has a physical situation going on. Let's jump right to, I want to focus first on the report. This is from Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic, posted about an hour ago. Mets have concerns with Carlos Correa's physical per sources. So, it's the physical again. The Mets and the Giants earlier this week have raised concerns over the repaired right leg, the surgically repaired right leg, and now the Mets potentially jeopardizing the agreement. This is from Ken Rosenthal again. Whether it will or not, we'll talk about that in just a moment. The parties agreed to a restructured contract if the Mets continue to express reservations. This was the situation the Giants were in, right? The Giants had that opportunity, but word was the Giants didn't call Scott Boras back to engage in anything, and the Mets jumped in because until this is done, it's always pending a physical. Anything can change. The Twins can come in at the last minute now and do a deal. I don't think it's going to happen, but you have a situation where if somebody wants to come to the table, they could, because we're not done. And is Scott Boras frustrated? He might be frustrated, but let's go. Let's do this thing. Steve, what's up, man? Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Merry Christmas, John. Everybody, what's up, everybody with the Merry Christmas comments in the live chat? Merry Christmas to all of you. So, this is the new developments, are the latest twist in a saga that shocked the baseball world when Correa and his agent Scott Boras pivoted Wednesday from their $13.350 million agreement to the Giants. Remember, Carlos Correa's family was in San Francisco. They were in the hotel. San Francisco, it was good. It was done until it wasn't done, and then he pivoted to the Mets. The situation, I want to read more of this. Let's see. It might be difficult for Correa. This is a big part. This is a big part. I can't overlook this. The parties could agree to restructure the contract if they have the reservations. It might be difficult for the Mets to back out of the agreement entirely after Steve Cohen went on record talking about the deal. Right? We can all agree with that. There is no way the Mets can back out of this. I think you maybe push forward. I don't know, but we have to talk about the Twins because I think that's some way that my thoughts are everywhere with this. As I'm sure many of you have the same feeling. The Twins, there is some word, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, that maybe they because of the short-term nature of that deal, because some people say, well, the Twins were willing to go in, but there may be something about that. And again, we're talking about that in a minute. So it may be difficult for Cohen to back out after jumping on board, knowing that there was something wrong. Now, the Mets didn't know exactly what because they didn't have the access to the physical. They had to do their own. The other element, it might be difficult for Correa to re-enter the free agent market and land a comparable contract after two clubs identified the same issue in their physical. So, this is interesting. Again, the new development of the twist shocked the baseball world. Cohen confirmed his apparent coup to the New York Post, saying we needed one more thing. If the Mets remain uncomfortable with Correa's long-term prognosis, one way to alter the agreement would be to insert language saying that portions of the deal would not be guaranteed if Correa missed a set amount of time with a specific leg problem. There's no way Scott Boras wants that language in the contract. Boras, however, might fight any attempt to alter the deal. He 100% will. 100%. He could call up the Twins and be like, guys, you are at 285. Find another 15 million and you got a deal. I can't see this happening, but the drama that circles around this is really, really fascinating. Again, and then we have some more here on Correa. Played 148 and 136 games past 2 years. Played most of the games in the shortened season. Talking about San Francisco striking the deal on December 13. Had the physical on Monday, and it all fell apart from there. The situation: Correa, 28, required arthroscopic surgery on a repaired fractured right fibula and minor ligament damage after he hit an RBI triple and his spike got stuck on the bag June 2014 when he was 19 and still in the minors with the Astros. GM Jeff Luhnow said at the time Correa's fracture was nearer the ankle than the knee. In 8 seasons, Correa has never gone on the injured list with a right leg problem. He's had the backs, he's had the ribs, he's had the finger, but nothing with a right leg issue. He made reference to the hardware in his leg. My guy has hardware in his leg after a game on September 20 in which he appeared to be injured following a hard slide but missed no time after. He just hit my plate, Correa told reporters. I had surgery and he hit it, just kind of felt numb, vibrating, so I was just waiting for it to calm down. It was a little scary, but when I moved, I knew it was good. The Twins medically cleared Correa for a 3-year, $105 million free agent contract last March, then made him a subsequent 10-year, $285 million offer after he opted out of the deal at the start of the offseason. If Correa had accepted, the team would have applied greater scrutiny to his physical than it did initially because of the long-term nature of the deal. We talked about that. I alluded to that a minute ago. The Twins did not have the same scrutiny to their physical last time around. So, I mean, and I have said that, but this was something that I have learned going through this article, is that the Twins' physical was not as intense because of the short-term nature of the deal. Moore sought to re-engage the Twins after the Giants declined to complete their deal with Correa, but unlike the Mets, who went up to $27 million from their first discussion with Correa, the Twins were not willing to move from their initial offer. So Boras went to the Twins once before. Would he do it again? I don't know. I think Boras probably wants to get this deal done with the Mets. There's no way Boras wants this to continue. There's no way Correa wants this to continue. But what might the Mets do? Might the Mets do nothing? Might the Mets say, you know what, we'll roll the dice? Or is there something that they do? Again, we're going to dive into that. Let's dive into that. Let's get this out of the way, and let's take a look again at some of what's going on social media. We have Michael Mayer tweeting at 12:11 p.m. That was a little over an hour ago now. The Mets have been discussing the physical issue with Boras for the last day, and all indications I've been given is that a deal with Carlos Correa is still likely. You like to hear that if you're a Mets fan. We're fine with that. I'm not gonna nitpick anything on that. That's fine. Obviously, I don't know. Likely is likely a strong enough word for you if you're a Mets fan. It's the best you can get at this point. Let's continue on. We have from Michael Marino, DJ Short, asking a question about the Correa and the Twins, the physical, the whole situation. And Michael Moreno, the understanding around the league, the Twins didn't do much investigating into the ankle before the 3-year deal because they felt the ankle wasn't an issue that'd be a threat to interfere with the shorter deal. Would have done a more thorough look during the physical if a 10-year deal was accepted. And more from Michael Marino, lower leg ankle. It was a fibula surgery that caused all these concerns I've reported. Now the Giants, how are Giants fans feeling? How's the Giants front office feeling? A little bit of an insight into that is Pavlovic from the San Francisco Chronicle, I do believe, or NBC Sports San Francisco, tweeting, the Giants' Correa concerns appear to have been valid after the Mets reportedly have discovered the same issue. So the Giants, if you want on the Giants, and the Giants getting cold feet, maybe it wasn't a cold feet thing. Maybe it's something real, especially if this is even coming up. The fact that this is even out is interesting. I'm not going to say alarming. It's interesting that this is even out, that it got to Ken Rosenthal, that we're here. You would think that if it was something that the Mets were just going to move on from, that this wouldn't be a thing. I think the Mets still get the deal done. Let me just say that. Straight up, I think that this deal with the Mets goes through. I think Mets fans, you should generally feel confident in that, especially with some of what we're already hearing. We'll take a look at some of the other reaction on Twitter. You guys keep coming with your comments, those of you that are with me live. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that like. Let's get that like count up as high as possible. I'm sure we got to get to 100, so hit that like if you have not yet. Subscribe, those of you that might be finding me for the first time with this video. Again, I want to look at Twitter here just to see what is the latest, because we've been going for about 10 minutes, and I feel like every 10 minutes we'll hear something new about this situation. Let me refresh the notification timeline and see what we've got. Again, Alex Pavlovic is out here right now. Everyone logging on to delete old tweets on Christmas Eve. Is he alluding to those that might want to backtrack some of what they put out there recently? Bob Nightingale tweeting, certainly the public relations nightmare the San Francisco Giants endured over the Carlos Correa saga will soften with the news that the Mets are also voicing concerns with Correa's medicals. Here is the tweet from San Francisco Giants on NBC Sports. What we just talked about, the concerns appear to have been valid. Pavlovic, the Giants felt they operated in good faith the entire time and just found an issue they couldn't get past. As Alex Pavlovic is all over this thing. We've also got John Heyman tweeting an hour ago, Mets have expressed concerns about the medicals. The parties are trying to work through it now. Ken Rosenthal first reporting the issue. More from Pavlovic. The Mets, like the Giants earlier this week, have raised concerns about Carlos Correa's surgically repaired right lower leg. And Ken Rosenthal sort of dropped this whole thing in. I mean, was there anything before that? There really wasn't. It was just Ken Rosenthal dropped one of his articles on The Athletic, and here we are right now. So give me your thoughts, those of you that are with me live, because that is why we're here. I also want to get some of your thoughts, everybody. Give me your feeling on the situation. I am going to stay in the camp that the Mets will get this done. That the Mets knew that this was a potential issue. They maybe didn't know exactly because they hadn't done their physical, but I still believe the Mets will get this done. Again, everybody, though, also please subscribe. Please hit that like if you have not done so, and keep those comments coming as well. Let's see. Not sure what all the concern about. He did decent with the Twins, Lucas. The concern, again, I'm catching up to some of the comments here live, so some of you may be having conversations with each other that I haven't seen, but the concern is with the Twins. Their medical was not as stringent as these other medicals and physicals that the Giants and the Mets are doing, because these are longer-term deals. We're looking at 10-plus years, whereas the Twins were looking at a 3-year deal max. And even though the Twins were there to offer offer their mega contract, $285 million, they were still going to have to do a more stringent physical with Carlos Correa. So there is that situation. Wolf, this is working in the Dodgers' favor with the stuff with Kumar Rocker. I thought this would happen. Good point. The Mets, they're not just gonna fall over with the physical process. So it's a good point. I also feel like if you're wondering behind the scenes what could be happening, is Scott Boras calling anybody? I think if anybody's thinking what team could rush in at last minute, sort of how the Mets rushed in and pulled them away from the Giants, is there a team that might do that? There's only one. And I think it's the Minnesota Twins. Because if you can get that thing, same number of years that the Twins had put out, but get it up to $300 million. If Boras thinks the Mets are going to try to renegotiate and bring it down, then maybe you start to do Minnesota. But does Carlos Correa want to go back to Minnesota? Right. The Giants are in an ultra competitive mode. The Mets are World Series favorites with Carlos Correa on the roster. You got to think Boras and Correa want to make this work in New York. Cohen made a fortune in hedge funds. If anyone takes a chance, it's Cohen. And that's a great point out there, Paul. I do believe that you will see. The Mets take this. They can't. The coming out party, essentially. I think that makes it tough to back down. I think you have to push forward, and I think the Mets will push forward. I do believe that. Welcome in, everybody that is just maybe hopping in to check this out. We are here. We are live. It is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to everybody. Let's see. Better than a decade contract with medical issues. Just don't know. You know, the Mets are going to go get guys. So if let's just go down for a minute the path where this does fall apart and they let him go. The Mets, we know the Mets are always going to be continuing to be aggressive and go get the next piece. If they miss out on Carlos Correa, that might motivate Steve Cohen to go do something else big. And maybe that's, I don't know, a Brian Reynolds trade. I think that would be a long shot. But you know that if you have Correa and then Correa falls through because of the medical, the Mets and Steve Cohen, the Mets, the fan base, everybody sort of viewed the Mets up here all of a sudden with Correa, and then it comes down a little bit. They're going to want to get back up there, so I could see Cohen doing something in response to this. I don't know what it would be, because obviously all the major free agents are off the board when we're looking at trade pieces, the prominent pieces, your outfielder like a Reynolds, a pitcher like Pablo Lopez. Is that one way that they would go? I don't know. I think it would be less desirable way to go, because then you're parting with some of your prospects. Boris, this Correa stuff has been wild. This is just so unusual. Carlos Correa is just one of the biggest. What are we looking for here? We're talking about the news that circles around him is so tabloidal. I don't even know if that's a word. We're just making words up here. It feels so tabloidal with Carlos Correa going back to the 17 World Series, the trash can. He was one of the more outspoken players about that, to the whole free agency thing last year, to this year, to the physicals. It's just amazing that a player can have, and I really don't want to call it drama. Maybe that is the right word. But there's so much going on around Carlos Correa. Welcome in, everybody. Again, I appreciate you all being here. Make sure if you haven't yet to hit that like, trying to get that like count up as high as we can, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the content moving forward. If you're into baseball, baseball is one of your things. This is one of the things we do. We go live when big news is breaking. We break down deals. We break down trades. We talk about baseball nonstop. We live, eat, sleep, and breathe it. And if baseball is one of your things that you're kind of into, I think it's a place you might want to come back to. So Ohtani, yes, listen. I've been hesitant to just jump at that. That's such low-hanging fruit. Ohtani is going to be a Met. It just feels like it. I'm biding my time on that. But I do see some comments in the chat about Ohtani. I do think it is very likely that if Steve Cohen wants Ohtani, he's going to get Ohtani next year. Peb Mets, what's going on? Thank you. Welcome back, Peb Mets. Thank you for the donation. I feel the Mets and Boris have to work this out now that San Francisco and the Mets found the same thing. Where does Boris and Correa turn in the future? The Mets may be the only chance to get long-term. Peb Mets, I think the Twins could jump in, but again, may have a similar problem. I do think that this ultimately will get worked out. Again, I've said it a few times now. I know people are hopping in and out. I have said it a few times. I do believe that the Mets will find a way to figure this out and get this done. No problem. Peb Mets, thank you for the donation. I do appreciate that. He will be staring at a situation if he can't get this figured out where, okay, nobody's going to want to give you a long-term contract now. And he obviously is looking at one. That's what he's looking for. So at the end of the day, I think the Mets work this out. But this is just fascinating that it keeps on coming down. It keeps happening. Thank you, everybody that's hitting the like. We have almost 900 people in here now. Can we get to 200 likes in the next minute or two? If you haven't used your like, please use it now. See if we can get to 200. Let's see, William. I can see the Mets adding some opt-out years down the road. But I don't think Cohen. Yes, Cohen. Boris is not going to want to have any team options or club options in this deal. He wants this to be absolutely the best thing possible for the player. So I do think that is something that if that starts to enter into the equation, then you may see, again, Mets may lose out on the player if there is a team like the Twins that are. Scott Boras is almost the perfect agent to go through this situation because he's got so many teams in the hopper that he can go to or that can come to him and check in and he can try to work something out. He's a fantastic negotiator, puts his player in a position of power every single time. Look at what he's done this offseason for Conforto and Bellinger. He gets his guys the money. So with Correa, you have to feel he's going to do the same thing. He's going to do the same thing for Carlos Correa, but opt-outs in the deal, if that needs to be worked in, I think that he would probably rather go back to Minnesota for that 285 than take the deal on the table with the Mets, as long as Minnesota would guarantee that with no club options, with maybe only some player options, which again, player options, that's all power for the player. That the team has a team with player options, it means nothing. Let's see. What's up, BALLCAP Sports? Watch him re-sign with the Astros. Donovan. If they didn't have Jeremy Pena, I could see that happening. But because the Astros already have the future, I do think that is highly unlikely just because of that fact. Guys, we are only one like away from 200. It's been 60 seconds, and we have jumped up almost 100 likes. Thank you to everybody that hit the like. That's a like spike. That's good stuff right there. Hit that like. If you haven't yet, how far beyond 200 can we blow? Let's see. Lionheart Correa's product went from top shelf to bargain basement. That's funny because right, you have a situation with Carlos Correa where he talked about himself being the product. This is more of the tabloidal stuff that I'm talking about. Again, I don't know if that's a word. I'm making it up here today if it isn't. He talked about himself as the product, right? I'm the product. If I want something, I go and get it. I got to spend big. So he's talking a big game, and he has the right to do that. He's a terrific player. He's amazing in the postseason. He's clutch. He's got all of that. I know there are those that are anti-Carlos Correa because of all of that tabloidal stuff. But he goes from the whole product thing, and now the product does look to be a little damaged, a little dinged up. Talked about how I equated this to Christmas shopping. Since we're in the Christmas season, if you spend big on a gift for somebody, or let's be honest, maybe you're buying yourself a gift, and it's a little bit more than you want to spend, because we're all overextending ourselves this time of year. And then you say, you know what, in the back of your mind, you're like, this thing better be perfect. If there's anything wrong with it, that's the only excuse I need to run back to the store and send it back, and I'll get the cheaper version. And essentially, it kind of feels like that's what's going on here, is you got the expensive item, there's a ding on the box, you're running it back to the store, and you want your money back. You're going to go get the product, the same item, but, scaled down a little bit. You're going to get the $50 version instead of the $150 version, whatever it is. William, thank you for the 9 months. Thank you for the 9 months. Merry Christmas to you as well, my friend. Maddie, what about Correa going back to the Giants? Well, that's over now. That's not going to happen because, again, you're looking for a long-term deal. The Giants are obviously we're not there. They never re-engaged in a part of the problem with that is the Giants never re-engaged with Scott Boras about a new contract. The physical was a problem. What was it? 8-10 hours went by from when that was made. When the Giants brought that up to Boras, and then nothing happened. There was no negotiation in that period. According to Scott Boras, the Mets jumped in and Correa pivots. If they had gotten to a point where maybe they were talking, okay, here's what our deal would be based on the current physical that we have gone through, here's what we would offer, then there would at least be something on the table. But I don't even know if the Giants got to that point. So I cannot imagine that the Giants would be somewhere that this could turn to. Almost 1,000 people in here right now. Thank you all for coming in here on Christmas Eve. Those of you, Merry Christmas. That haven't heard me say that yet. Merry Christmas to all of you that are coming in, hanging out with us here as we're talking about this situation with Carlos Correa. Not again. Mets have expressed concern. I do believe the Mets will work this out. This is, I think, a place that Carlos Correa wants to be. I think this is an owner that really wants Carlos Correa. He has said everything about that. So I do believe the Mets work this out because of that fact. Because of the fact that he wants to be there and the team wants him there. There were a lot of people that, hypothesized that maybe the Giants, after that contract, were a little worried. And maybe wouldn't do everything in their power to still get the deal done. I think the Mets will do everything in their power to still get the deal done. So we'll see how that works out. Cohen's fault for signing him to a 14-year deal before he did his due diligence, D-man. Well, it wasn't 14, but I get your point. No, I understand your point. This was always a possibility, right? The Giants, they did their physical. The Mets have their history with Kumar Rocker. This was always a possibility. You felt like it wouldn't happen because of how out there Steve Cohen was about signing this player and getting this player and knowing that there's an injury history. I mean, the stuff that's been most prominent over the years was the back, right? The back's been the big one. He had the rib thing a couple years ago. Those are the more prominent issues. This situation with his right lower leg, the ankle area, has not really been an issue at the major league level. But I think what teams are looking at is they're worried about it moving forward. They're worried about it as he moves into his 30s. Worried that if he does aggravate it, that he may either not be the same player or he may miss extreme amounts of time. And when you're giving this much money out, that's what is going to hold you back. That's what's going to give you reservations about a deal. Rightfully so, but I still think the Mets could get it done. I do, again, William had the comment about, do you add in, any club options into this deal? And again, if that happens, I think you're starting from scratch on the deal. I can't. Maybe that's what they have to do, and maybe Scott Boras will be down with that. But remember, Scott Boras is always trying to put his player in a position of power, a position to win, and that's not a winning position for the player to have to potentially have that player option not picked up in 5 years. And it has nothing to do with the injury or the foot or whatever. It has to do with player performance, right? Because then if you have a club option in there, then they can just say, well, yeah, sure, you've been healthy, but you've been a 20-homer guy, and we've only made the playoffs half the times, and we have all this money invested in you. We need pitching, so we're going to let you go. That's why I don't see a club option. I think you would wind up again seeing him, because Boras had several teams in, picking up the phone, calling the Twins again. He did call the Twins after the Giants deal was falling through, but the Twins would not come up on their offer. They were going to hold, but they were still there. And the Twins, it's not like the Twins went out and spent that money. The Twins still have that money. The Giants have spent money, right? The Giants bring in the reliever Rogers. They bring in Michael Conforto. So the Giants have spent money that they now probably would not entertain Correa. Maybe they would, but I don't think it's going to happen. But the Giants spent money. The Twins have not spent that money, right? Dansby Swanson ended up going to the Cubs. But interesting now is Correa. How would it be if he did have to re-enter the market? Let's see, maybe vested options with games played. William, that would be the way to go. But again, it almost gets back to the same thing. The whole thing would be geared around the ankle, right? But what if he gets hit in the head with a ball and he's got a concussion and the concussion symptoms don't go away for months? And so because of that, it doesn't get picked up. I think that again, it's something that would certainly protect the team, but knowing Boras, knowing how he puts his players in position to have the power, I think that they would be back from that. Zorro, what's up, brother? I see you. What's up? What about Correa to Baltimore, 3 for $180? I'll tell you this: I don't think there will be a short-term deal. I think we're looking at 10 years. If whatever happens, he gets the deal done with the Mets, he has to pivot to the Twins. I think it's still going to be at least a 10-year deal for Carlos Correa. I do believe that. I, again, still think the Mets are going to work this out. We know the Orioles were sort of looming last year. We hadn't really heard much about the Orioles this year, but that is something that is always, I think the short-term nature of this is highly unlikely to go down. Highly unlikely to go down. Let's see. I think they go down to 10 as well. Let's see. 400 likes. Are we at 400 likes? Keep hitting that like, everybody. If you have not, I appreciate everybody that is in here. A, it is Christmas Eve. B, NFL football is in full swing right now. So those of you that are choosing to be here, maybe you're doing some other things. I appreciate you all for coming in and hanging out, spending time with the channel. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you're just finding the channel. If there's any question about the dedication to the channel, I hope that I'm giving it to you right now. With Christmas Eve, we are here. We are talking about this stuff again. Thank you, everybody that is here. We are at 299 likes. Are there 100 likes to be had in the next minute or two? Hit that like if you haven't. Wolf is watching the Chiefs game. I got to see how my Bills are doing. I got Bills and Bears. I'm also in the fantasy football playoffs. 2 leagues, 2 number 1 seeds. That's right here. Doing this, still had time to do that. 2 number 1 seeds and 2 fantasy football leagues, and I'm in the playoffs right now, so I'm very interested to see how things are going. Again, Carlos Correa, how this is going to play out is fascinating. It is one of the sagas of the will this offseason be remembered for the Aaron Judge free agency or the Carlos Correa free agency? Aaron Judge is the better player, but this is going to be remembered as the Carlos Correa offseason. Absolutely, with everything that's been going on, this is the Carlos Correa saga offseason. Every offseason has something, right? A few years back, it was Machado and Harper. Next year, it's going to be Ohtani. Last year, what was it last year? I know it was something last year. I'm just blanking on it. Paul, thank you for the donation. Coming in here. Don't think the Mets can back out. I agree with you. Cohen made public comments. We have an agreement, not an agreement pending a physical. I'm with you. No, I don't think the Mets can back out. I don't think they will back out. So that is something that has to be, this is different than the San Francisco situation. So I do think the Mets end up getting still done. I don't know how they can back out. I am with you on, that one, everybody. Bruce, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well. Matthew, Correa deal falls through and Jays pick him up. Weeks ago, I had Jays were looming. Heard Jays were looming. I don't think so. Again, I think it ends up being with the Mets, and if it doesn't go to the Mets, a Plan B team, to me, feels like it's Minnesota Twins. If that is how this goes, I think it ends up being the Minnesota Twins as the backup team. Guys, I really do appreciate all of you being here. Thank you to everybody. Let's see, William. It proves no matter what the Mets, William, I feel for the backlash that I could take on that. I cannot finish that, but I see you in there. All right, guys, I am going to have to hop. Before I do, I want to thank all of you for coming in here and spending a few minutes with the channel. I want to get out here around the 30-minute mark so that people will continue to watch this. The higher it goes, the replay watches and all that go down. So we're going to hop out. Everybody that hopped in, thank you for being here and spending some time with the channel. Make sure to hit the like on the way out. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And those of you that are subscribed, make sure you turn the alerts on so you don't miss when we pop up and do these things live. Again, thank you all for coming in. Have a wonderful and fantastic Christmas, because unless the Toronto Blue Jays trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for Shohei Ohtani, you probably won't see me again until December 26th. So everybody, have a wonderful and Merry Christmas. BALLCAP Nation, I salute you. Thank you for the support this year. I will see you again this year. There will be more content next week. But thank you all for coming in. Keep the comments coming. Those down below, comment in the comment section, as that's where this conversation will have to pick up. To those of you that are here with me live, I do appreciate you again. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas Eve, and I'll catch you next time.